Hi, my name is Jim Callari. I'm the editorial director of Plastics Technology Magazine. Plastics Technology Magazine, over the next several weeks, is going to be doing a series of blogs on polyethylene film markets. We're going to be looking at the 5 most significant markets in terms of pounds consumed and the 5 fastest growing markets. And this series that we're doing is going to be based on research conducted by Mastio Company, which has been doing polyethylene film research for many years. The results are from their 2019-2020 research. And joining me is Kevin Huntsman, who's the Senior Vice President for Mastio Company. And Kevin, why don't you tell me a little bit about Mastio and some of the methodology that your company uses in generating these market reports?
Well, Jim, first off, thank you for the opportunity, and we appreciate you taking the time to cover and discuss the Mastio PE film market study. Jim, Mastio has been in business for a little over 30 years, and the PE film study has been around almost as long as Mastio. So we're about 30 years on the PE film study. It's a study we do about every 2.5 to 3 years. From the perspective of the Mastio PE film study, we find it to be the most popular study that we do from a market study perspective. And why I think that's the case, obviously, is its popularity not only with the resin suppliers, Jim, but with the converters themselves, the distributors, the equipment manufacturers, as well as entities like private equity looking to enter into this space. This is a great tool to understand the market, the participants, the growth, et cetera. One of the key tenets, I believe, of the Mastio study is the methodology that we use. We use what we call a primary research methodology, where we conduct these interviews ourselves, Jim. We don't comb the internet for data. We actually have a team led by a member of our staff that's been around for about 27, 28 years. Her name is Kim Enna. Kim leads this study and this data collection effort. I mean, we talk to a lot of individuals within an organization, from someone in procurement to sales to engineering, marketing, as well as senior level leaders. So we really spend a lot of time and effort to get a good feel for an organization in the various markets in which they participate. The study itself, as you mentioned earlier, Jim, is a 2019-2020 study we published in late March of 2020. So the data collection occurred the latter part of 2019 into the early part of 2020. Is really the background on the study in Mastio itself.
So the blog that accompanies this video is on institutional trash bags. What are some of your insights on that market? What are some of the takeaways as a result of your research?
Well, great question. So the institutional trash bag, you think about that, that's more your commercial trash bags, mostly mono-layer in hospitals, hotels, et cetera. It's the 3rd largest market that we've identified through our research in the Mastio PE film market study here in 2020. It's interesting. It's the relationships that the converters have, and more often than not, they sell these trash bags to wholesale packaging distributors, who then in turn sell many items in addition to the trash cans to these companies, these management companies of these larger buildings or hospitals. It's a large market, not only from a resin perspective, Jim, but from a number of participants as well. We found 39 participants that convert and make these institutional trash bags here in the U.S. and Canada. One of the interesting findings, and it's consistent really over time, is there's really 2 major players in this particular market, Jim. The top 2 hold nearly 50% market share, and that's Novolex and Berry, 2 very large companies. And we found too, after you look at, Jim, those top 2, it becomes very fragmented. So you've got a lot of players that have just a couple of percent market share, and they are not large in this market, but they've been in this market for a very long time. And we found that the institutional trash bag market is almost a GDP type market, Jim. Obviously, GDP is a little flipped on its head right now as we get some reporting with COVID, but we find it to be a pretty low, steady growth type market, and I think will continue to be the case.
Right. One of the things that you introduced in this year's study across all of the end markets you report on is a section on sustainability. With institutional trash bags, I would imagine that sustainability is achieved by down gauging and using industrial scrap. I don't think there's a heck of a lot of post-consumer reclaim coming into this market because not a lot of film scrap, unfortunately, is being recovered at this time. Is that what you found?
Absolutely, Jim. You hit it perfect there, and I think it's as these entities in big companies like Novalex and Berry look at ways to improve their sustainability efforts. This is one of those markets that just comes right along the lines you just mentioned.
Yeah, kind of surprised me a little bit looking at the data that so much of it was still monolayer. You would think with the capabilities of 3-layer extrusion that there would be an opportunity to collect, reclaim, and maybe bury it in a center layer. But obviously, I guess companies are instead choosing to blend scrap and blend whatever post-consumer that they are able to get their hands on into the virgin material and maintain a monolayer structure. So they're using like existing equipment capacity and existing assets.
Yeah, we find that we found that to be the case across most every participant in this market, Jim.
Yep. Yep. All right, Kevin, thank you for joining us. I would invite all of those who have tuned into this video to please read the blog and click on to the Mastio Company website, and maybe you'll get some more information there. Thanks a lot, Kevin.
Thank you, Jim.